Omakyanattimandasya Chinansanasunakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Mukam Karoti Vatshalam Pankum Lankayati Gerim Yat Kripa Tataham Vande Shigurum Dinatarinam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Paskachai Satarane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So yesterday we heard that Lord Nrsingadev offered all benedictions to Prahlad Maharaj. He asked, so Lord Nrsingadev, he said to Prahlad, ask me whatever you want. Ask me whatever you want, and I will give it. Some people who would like that idea, God comes to you and asks, whatever you want, I will give you. Practically all the people of the world will say, wait a minute, I have a whole shopping list here with desires to fulfill. But we will hear the reply of Prahlad Maharaj in 10 verses today. We will discuss Canto 7, Chapter 10, Prahlad, the best among our exalted devotees, and we will discuss the first 10 verses today. So I will first read the verses, just the text, and then we will go again over it. But while you hear the verses, please be attentive and note down what you think is the most significant instruction that Prahlad Maharaj is giving us. And identify for yourself what you think is the most important instruction, and then explain how, if you apply that correctly, how that will influence your life, what will happen. So, as I said, I will first read the translations of the 10 texts, then we will go over again. The Saint Narada Muni continued. Although Prahlad was only a boy when he heard the benedictions offered by Lord Nrsingadev, he considered them impediments on the path of devotional service. Thus he smiled very mildly and spoke as follows. Prahlad Maharaj said, my dear Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I was born in an atheistic family, I am not really attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, kindly do not tempt me with these illusions. I am very much afraid of material conditions, and I desire to be liberated from materialistic life. It is for this reason that I have taken shelter at your lotus feet. O worshipful Lord, because the seed of lusty desires, which is the root of cause of material existence, is within the core of everyone's heart. You have sent me to this material world to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee. Otherwise, my Lord, O Supreme Instructor of the entire world, you are so kind to your devotee that you could not induce him to do something unbeneficial for him. On the other hand, one who desires some material benefit in exchange for devotional service cannot be your pure devotee. Indeed, he is no better than a merchant who wants profit in exchange for service. A servant who desires material profits from his master is certainly not a qualified servant or pure devotee. Similarly, a master who bestows benedictions upon his servant because of a desire to maintain a prestigious position as master is not a pure master. O my Lord, I am your unmotivated servant, and you are my eternal master. There is no need for our being anything other than master and servant. You are naturally my master, and I am naturally your servant. We have no other relationship. O my Lord, best of the givers of benediction, if you at all want to bestow a desirable benediction upon me, then I pray from your Lordship that within the core of my heart there be no material desires. O my Lord, because of lusty desires from the very beginning of one's birth, the functions of one's senses, mind, life, body, religion, patience, intelligence, shyness, opulence, strength, memory, and truthful are vanquished. O my Lord, when a human being is able to give up all the material desires in his mind, he becomes eligible to possess wealth and opulence like yours. O my Lord, full of six opulence, O Supreme Person, O Supreme Soul, killer of all miseries, O Supreme Person in the form of a wonderful lion and man, let me offer my respectful obeisance unto you. And then after that, Lord Nrsimhadev again will reply, and that we will hear tomorrow. I will now go again over the verses. But Lord Nrsimhadev offered Prahlad Maharaj as a benediction whatever we want. Imagine if we could get whatever we want, or worse, if we get whatever we want. So many desires cross our minds. Imagine if every desire would be fulfilled, that would be dangerous for the universe. I read the first verse again. Shri Narada Uvacha Bhakti Yogasya Tat Sarvam Antaraya Tayahvaka Manyamano Rishikesham Smayamana Uvachaha. The saint Narada Muni continued, although Prahlad was only a boy, when he heard the benedictions offered by Lord Nrsimhadev, he considered them impediments on the path of devotional service. Thus he smiled very mightily and spoke as follows. So, it is so different from those, so Prahlad's consciousness is so different from those who are on the path of gaining material benefit in this world, which is the majority of the people. completely different. We read from the purport. I read first line. That material achievements are not the ultimate goal of devotional service. The ultimate goal of devotional service is love of Godhead. Therefore, although Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj, and many other kings were materially very, very opulent, they accepted their material opulence in the service of the Lord, not for their personal sense gratification. Of course, possessing material opulence is always fearful, because under the influence of material opulence, one may be misdirected from devotional service. So this is a great warning. There is a great warning in that. Do not underestimate the power of Maya. But the devotee, even if he is a king, he can use everything in devotional service. This does not only refer to wealth, but also to abilities. Whatever I have, it is Krishna's, it's not mine. It is not meant for me in subtle and gross ways. That continue reading. Nonetheless, a pure devotee, Anya Vilas Dasunyan, that is never misdirected by material opulence. On the contrary, whatever he possesses, he engages 100% in the service of the Lord. When one is allured by material possessions, they are considered to be given by Maya. But when one uses material possessions fully for service, they are considered God's gifts or facilities offered by Krishna for enhancing one's devotional service. So, but one must really have a taste for devotional service just to think like that. Just to think like that. So that's the first point here made. Yeah. Prahlad Maharaj said, you want me to offer all these material benedictions, but there are impediments on the path of devotional service. That text 2. Shiparat uvacha mamam palobayo patya saktan kameshu tervarai tatsango beto nirvino mamukshustvam upasrita. Prahlad Maharaj said, my dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I was born in an atheistic family, I am not really attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, kindly do not tempt me with these illusions. I am very much afraid of material conditions, and I desire to be liberated from materialistic life. It is for this reason that I have taken shelter at your lotus feet. So, Prahlad Maharaj says in this verse that he does not want to live in this material world. As Prahlad Maharaj told his schoolmates, don't believe what your teachers are telling you. Material engagements lead to suffering. It leads to suffering. That Srila Prabhupada pointed out that one of the problems we have is that we are not fearful enough from Maya. Prahlad Maharaj's his desire for liberation may not be prominent, but he does not want to be in a materialistic life. trying to be the enjoyer, but rather he wants to be the servant of Krishna. For this reason, Prahlad said, I don't want to be in the immaterial life. I want a life of eternal service in Krishna consciousness. So now the purport. Is practically halfway. Prahlad Maharaj, however, was detached from all material enjoyment. He therefore took shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nrsimhadev, and not the feet of any demigod. It is be understood that if one really wants release from this material world, from the threefold miseries, and from Jnana, Mrityu, Chara, Vyadhi, birth, death, old age, and disease, one must take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for without the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot get released from materialistic life. Atheistic men are very much attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, if they get some opportunity to achieve more and more material enjoyment, they take it. Prahlad Maharaj, however, was very careful in this regard, although born of a materialistic father, because he was a devotee, he had no material desires. Anya Bilansita Sunyam. Interesting, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada, he equates to being attached to material enjoyment to be an atheist. So he says atheistic men are very much attached to material enjoyment. That's what Srila Prabhupada literally says. So if one accepts the existence of God, one must serve him and surrender unto him. He's great. We are small. Text 3, and text 3 is quite a heavy statement. Britya lakshana jihnasu bhaktam kamesya dayat bhavan samsara bijesu hidaya kantisu prabhu. O my worshipful Lord, because the seat of lusty desires, which is the root of material existence, is within the core of everyone's heart. You have sent me to this material world to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee. So we have that false sense of existence separate from Krishna in this material world. Why is that? Prahlad says it's because of the seed of lusty desires. Samsara Bijesu, the root cause of being present in a material world. Samsara Bijesu, the seed that makes us rotate in this wheel of birth and death, of this Kala chakra, by which we are crushed by this Kala chakra. And Prahlad said, no, I don't want anything. And you have sent me to show this. That was in another lecture. Prabhupada calls Prahlad the Sakyavesa avatar. He came to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee and was empowered by that by Krishna. So the true happiness does not come from the satisfaction of all the desires. And we see this when we pour water on the seed of our desires, that then the desires, they multiply exponentially. So I will read the purport that Bhakti Rasamritu Sindhu has given considerable discussion about Nitya Siddha and Sadhana Siddha devotees. Nitya Siddha devotees come from Vaikuntha to this material world to teach by their personal example how to become a devotee. The living entities in this material world can take lessons from such Nitya Siddha devotees and thus become inclined to return back to Godhead. So that is what Prahlad Maharaj said to Hiranyakashipu. He said to Hiranyakashipu, Materna Krishna Pratos Fatufa, you could not develop this inclination for Krishna consciousness. Why? Ananda Gopir. Because you desire to enjoy the senses. Materna Krishna, he could not develop inclination for Krishna. He did not want to hear Prahlad Maharaj's words, but we can, just by hearing Prahlad Maharaj's words, develop that inclination to become a devotee and serve without material desires. Continue reading the purport. A Nitya Siddha devotee comes from Vaikuntha upon the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and shows by his example how to become a pure devotee, Anyabilasa Sunyam. In spite of coming to this material world, the Nitya Siddha devotee is never attracted by the allurements of material enjoyment. A perfect example is Prahlad Maharaj, who was Nitya Siddha and a Mahabharata devotee. Although Prahlad was born in the family of Hiranyakashipu, an atheist, he was never attached to any kind of materialistic enjoyment, desiring to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee. The Lord tried to induce Prahlad Maharaj to take material benedictions. So Lord Nrsimhadev knew that I will offer him all material benedictions, and then all these demigods who are around, they can hear what pure devotion is from Prahlad Maharaj. So that was, the Lord tried to induce Prahlad Maharaj to take material benedictions, but Prahlad Maharaj did not accept them. On the contrary, by his personal example, he showed the symptoms of a pure devotee. In other words, the Lord has no desire to send his pure devotee to this material world, nor does the devotee has any material purpose in coming. When the Lord himself appears as an incarnation within this material world, he is not allured by the material atmosphere, and he has nothing to do with material activity. Yet by his example, he teaches the common man how to become a devotee. Similarly, a devotee who comes here in accordance with the order of the Supreme Lord shows by his personal behavior how to become a pure devotee. Pure devotee, therefore, is a practical example for all living entities, including Lord Brahma. So, text 4. That I think text 4. Nanyata tika kilaguho kateta kaumatmana yata shisa asaste nasabrityana panik merchant. Otherwise, my Lord, O Supreme Instructor of the entire world, you are so kind to your devotee that you could not induce him to do something unbeneficial for him. On the other hand, one who desires material benedictions in exchange for devotional service cannot be a pure devotee. Indeed, he is no better than a merchant who wants profit in exchange for service. So Prahlad Maharaj said, you sent me to this material world to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee. Why then should you tempt me with something unbeneficial? That accepting material benedictions means giving to get, not giving to love. That we read the purport in the beginning. It is sometimes found that one comes to a devotee or a temple of the Lord just to get some material benefit. Such a person is described as a mercantile man. Bhagavad Gita speaks of Arto Jichnasur Artarti. The word Arta refers to one who is physically distressed, and Artarti refers to one in need of money. Such persons are forced to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead for mitigation of their distress, or to get money by the benediction of the Lord. That they have been described as Sukriti, pious, because in their distress or need for money they have approached the Supreme Lord. However, although a pious man may receive some material benefit, one who is concerned with material benefits cannot be a pure devotee. When a pure devotee receives material opulence, this is not because of his pious activity, but for the service of the Lord. So that means that's already a direct indication that the devotee who is surrendered to Krishna he doesn't get opulence like others. That it's not its karmic reaction. He gets it for the service of the Lord. Interesting. So it's not under the law of karma like others. We will discuss more about that later, especially I think tomorrow. When one engages in devotional service, one is automatically pious. Therefore, pure devotee is anyabhilasa sunyam. He has no desire for material profit. Nor does the Lord induce him to try to profit materially. When a devotee needs something, the Supreme Personality of Godhead replies, Yurikstenam Brahmyam. So Gaurikishore Das Babaji would hide from the materialist. He would hide in a latrine so that materialists would find the fragrance abominable, and they would not bother him. He could not stand when people would come before him to offer dandavats and blessings. That he did not want to participate in that kind of insincerity and atheism. So we continue reading the purport. Some materialists go to temples to offer flowers and fruits to the Lord because they have learned from Bhagavad Gita that if a devotee offers some flowers and fruits, the Lord accepts them. Bhagavad Gita, the Lord said, Patram pushpam phalam teyam, yome bhaktya prayachati, tatyam bhaktya ashnami prayatatmana. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. Just a man with mercantile mentality thinks that if he can get some material benefit, like a large amount of money, Simply by offering a little food and flowers, that's good business. Such persons are not accepted as pure devotees, because their desires are not purified. They are still mercantile men, even though they go to temples to make a show of being devotees. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat pratvana nirmalam. When, only when one is fully freed from material desires can one be purified, and only in that purified state one can serve the Lord. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam Bhakti Uchati. That is the pure devotional platform. Now, text 5. That's uh, 5. Asasano navaibhritya svamin ashisa atmana nasvami bhrittaya svamyam ichan yogati sansisa. A servant who desires material profit from his master is certainly not a qualified servant or a pure devotee. Similarly, a master who bestows benediction upon his servant because of a desire to maintain prestigious position as master is also not a pure master. That Pujan, when he spoke on this verse, he spoke about a yogi who was a so-called guru of a rich businessman. The rich businessman was not a vegetarian. But the disciple businessman was serving the sannyasi vegetarian food and also the businessman disciple was eating, and the guru instructed his disciple, "Why are you eating vegetarian food? Eat what you usually eat. Does the tiger in the forest eat the same food as the other animals?" So that means this guru was just there to please the disciple because he was rich, that to get some benefit. So we will go to text 6. Aham tvakamastat bhaktas. So I will first read a part of this purport, that halfway, purport text 5, that it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Yasyam anugranami aishe tatanam chanai. If one is too materialistic but at the same time wants to be a servant of the Supreme Lord, because of his supreme compassion for the devotee, the Lord takes away all his material opulence and obliges him to be a pure devotee of the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj distinguishes between the pure devotee and the pure master. The Lord is the pure master, the supreme master, whereas an unalloyed devotee with no material motives is a pure servant. One who has materialistic motivations cannot become a servant, and one who unnecessarily bestows benediction upon his servant to keep his own prestigious position is not a real master. Now, text 6. In this verse, Prahlad Maharaj will say again, I do not serve you to get anything, and there is no need for you to give anything. That ham tvakamas tvatbhaktas tvam sasvamyana pasaya nanyate by vaiho achto raja sevakaro riva. Oh my Lord, I am your unmotivated servant. You are my eternal master. There is no need of our being anything other than master and servant. You are not really my master, and I'm not really your servant. You have no other relationships. Purport. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Shivera Srupa Hare Krishna Nityadas. Every living being is eternally a servant of the Supreme Personality of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, Bhaktam Sagatapasam Sarvalokamashvam Sudam Sarvabhutanam Yatramam Santim Richati. I'm the proprietor of all plants, and I'm the supreme enjoyer. That is the natural position of the Lord, and the natural position of the living entity is to surrender unto him. If this relationship continues, then real happiness exists eternally between the master and servant. Unfortunately, when this eternal relationship is disturbed, the living entity wants to become separately happy and thinks that the master is not his order supplier. In this way, there cannot be happiness, nor should the master cater for the desires of the servant. If it does, he is not the real master. So in this way, there cannot be happiness, no real happiness. It means that the relationship between the Lord and living entity is based on sharanagati, on surrender. That because Prabhupada writes in the purport, the living entity is asraya, always subordinate, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Visaya, the supreme objective, the goal of life. That so unfortunate persons trapped in this material world do not know this. Illusioned by the material energy, everyone in the material world is unaware that the only game of life is to approach Vishnu. Aradhana dananam sarvisam Vishnu aradhanam param. Tasmat parataram devi tadiyam samakcharam. That in the Padma Purana, Lord Shiva explains to his wife Parvati, the goddess Durga, that the highest goal of life is to satisfy Lord Vishnu, who can be satisfied only when his servant is satisfied. That Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore teaches Gopi Bharta Kamala, Kodi Bhartu Pada Kamala, Das Anudas Anudas. One must become the servant of the servant. Prahlad Maharaj also prayed to Lord Nrsimhadev that he might be engaged as a servant of the Lord's servant. This is prescribed. This is the prescribed method of devotional service. As soon as a devotee wants the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be his order supplier, the Lord immediately refuses to become the master of such a motivated devotee. I read that again. As soon as a devotee wants the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be his order supplier, the Lord immediately refuses to become the master of such a motivated devotee. That so it is such a great gift and opportunity to have some service to do. Take this for granted. Service can be troublesome, but it is the greatest opportunity to get service. There are many devotees who lack this, and they don't have a way to express their devotion. So continue reading in Bhagavad Gita 4.1 that the Lord says, as one surrenders unto me, I reward him accordingly. Materialistic persons are generally inclined to materialistic profit. As long as one continues in such an adulterated position, he does not receive the benefit of returning go back to cottage. That, so it's very exhausted to want nothing else than service, not to demand everything, not to ask him anything. Even if I'm not getting what I think I need, that all I want is your service, and I'm satisfied with what you have given me. That just what you have given me. This is fully liberated. This is the satisfaction of an exalted devotee that he is serving. The center of his satisfaction is offered to the Lord. That he wants nothing in return. So he does not want anything in return for this service itself. Queen Kunti, she prayed in the 8th chapter of the 1st canto. Pripadasantu tatsatvat tatra tatra chirat karo bhavato darshnam yatshyat apunarbhava darshnam. She says, I let these calamities come again and again, because that if they come again and again, we will see you. Seeing you means that there will be no more birth and deaths. By having your association, Prahlad Maharaj said, factually, automatically liberation is achieved. That, text 7. Yadi datsyasi me kaman paramstvam varadakshava kamanam ridi asamroam bhavatastu vinevaram. O my Lord, best of the givers of benediction, if you at all want to bestow a desirable benediction upon me, then I pray from your Lordship that within the core of my heart there will be no material desires. So that's what Prahlad Maharaj wants. He wants to be free from desires born of the mode of passion. They infect my heart and they give me so much trouble. That is my desire. I have no material desires. To have no material desires. That is what I want. That so why do I don't why do I not want them? That will be explained in the next verse. A very interesting verse, but interesting. Srila Prabhupada translates here and he writes, within the core of my heart. He's not translating within my heart, within the core of my heart. That it means nothing else. From the deepest part of my consciousness, the core is right in the middle. From the middle of my consciousness, I don't want any material desire. Pure devotion is not concerned with me. Okay. So that it's not concerned with us. It doesn't work like that, especially concerning the desire for liberation. So from the core of one's heart, there should be no selfishness whatsoever. So Srila Prabhupada says at the end of this purport that it's on the positive side, the devotee wants to possess something, and this possession is very nicely described by Prahlad Maharaj, who says, if I must take some benediction from you, I pray that within the core of my heart there may be no material desires. The desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not at all material. So that is what should be in our heart. Longing service to Krishna. The loving service to Krishna will ban away every remnant of material desires from the core of our heart, even any offenses. Text 8. Indriyani mana prana atma dharmo driti mati Vishisteja smriti satyam yasya nashanti janmana. O my Lord, because of lusty desires from the very beginning of one's birth, the functions of one's senses, mind, life, body, religion, patience, intelligence, shyness, opulence, strength, memory, and truthfulness are vanquished. Yeah. So, the first two lines of the purport. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kaman Rit Rogam. Materialistic life means that one is afflicted by a formidable disease called lusty desire. Liberation means freedom from lusty desires, because it is only due to such desires that one must accept repeated birth and death. So we may remember us when Prahlad Maharaj was in the classroom. As soon as Sunda and Amarka, the teachers, left the room, Prahlad Maharaj started preaching to the students. He said, don't listen what your teachers are saying. The purpose of education is this, fulfillment of material desires. But Prahlad Maharaj said, no, material desires, they cause so many problems. The main problem is that birth after birth, we come back to fulfill these material desires. One must take birth after birth to fulfill them. Our karma is stored in our consciousness in the form of these material desires. So we read further. As long as one's lust desires are unfulfilled, one must take birth after birth to fulfill them. Because of material desires, therefore, one performs various types of activities and receives types of bodies with which to try to fulfill desires that are never satisfied. The only remedy is to take the devotional service, which begins when one is free from all material desires. Anyabilasa Sunyam. Anyabilasa means material desire, and Sunyam means free from. The spirit soul has spiritual activities and spiritual desires as described by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That Mama Janminam Chamamishvari Bhavata Bhaktya Haitkritvari. Srila Prabhupada repeated this fourth verse of the Shikshastakam many times in this purpose. Unalloyed devotion to the service of the Lord is the only spiritual desires. That to fulfill this spiritual desire, however, one must be free from all material desires. Desireless means freedom from material desires. And we go to text 9. So first, Vimunshati yata kaman manavo manashistitam Daiva Pundariksha Kaksha Bhagavattvaya Kalpate. O my Lord, when a human being is able to give up all material desires in his mind, he becomes eligible to possess wealth and opulence like yours. So the purpose, a few lines down, comment of Sridhar Swami. Bhagavatva Becoming as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not mean becoming one with Him or equal to Him, although in the spiritual world the servant is equally as opulent as the master. The servant of the Lord engaged in the service of the Lord as a friend, servant, friend, father, mother, conjugal lover, all of what are equally as opulent as the Lord. This is Ashindya Veda Veda Tattva. The master and the servant are different, yet equal in opulence. This is the meaning of simultaneous difference from the Supreme Lord and oneness with Him. So when we have given up our attachment to material desires in the mind, then one is not driven by them anymore. The process of dealing with material desires is that one must be very tolerant, Krishna says. Tolerant of them. If you are tolerant, finally they will go away. But these verses here of Prahlad Maharaj, they show the pristine purity of pure devotional service. And there is no other desire than to please Krishna. That if ecstasy comes of one gets opulences, and a devotee feels conflict with his seva, then he takes the seva. So that by this inner attitude, Krishna becomes purchased by such a devotee. The residents of Goloka Vrindavan were so pure that they could control Krishna by their love. And now, text 10, this will be the final words of Prahlad Maharaj. Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Purusaya Mahatmane Harayet Buddha Singaya Bhavane Paramatmane. O my Lord, full of 6 opulences, O Supreme Person, O Supreme Soul, killer of all miseries, O Supreme Person in the form of a wonderful lion and man, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Datta. So, the last line of the purport. He defined his position as a servant and offered respectful obeisances to the Lord. So we hear, after that, hearing these prayers, what should we remember? What is in the mind of a pure devotee? So what is in the mind of a pure devotee? What does he want? So by hearing these prayers, we can understand what a pure devotee wants. What is he desiring? So that if we understand these points, then we can follow Prahlad. We become like, in India you can see that a biker he holds a bus at the back and drives with the bus. Very dangerous, but you can see that it's like that. When we follow and try and attempt to desire what Prahlad is desiring, that when we understand what's in the mind of a pure devotee, so just by hearing it, our heart becomes purified. Becoming purified means that we wish to have a heart like he has. We want to follow Prahlad Maharaj's path rather than taking the path of the materialists. But so by that we are finishing this fact of today. That in tomorrow we will hear in four verses, Lord Nrsimhadev will reply again, and then again Prahlad Maharaj will reply, and this will be the final. Tomorrow we will end this pastime, these wonderful pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Nrsimhadev. So I asked a question in the beginning of these many prayers here, in these 10 verses. What do you think is the most significant point you identified? That, or you can share also what you learned today and what deeper insights you gained by hearing this pastime. Good. Yes, Mother Kasturica, please speak.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, can you hear me now?
We are hearing you clearly, yes.
Yes, so sorry, I didn't realize. Thank you so much for the class. Something that really struck me is the effect of the lusty desires, which I never thought about it before. And what is the effect that could take us to. I have a question as well, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Lord says that he refuses to be master of the motivated devotee. But we hear in Bhagavad Gita 3:26 that Krishna says that do not disturb the ignorant who is engaged in the fruitive activities, but still engage them in Krishna consciousness. So how do we reconcile both together?
Yeah, there are two different points here. It is said in these verses that in the purport Srila Prabhupada makes that point. If one has material desires, the Lord may reciprocate by fulfilling these material desires. But he will not take control of the life of the devotees. That he will, he will not yet bring him back to Godhead. But he will help to purify such a devotee. But there are different things here and different kinds. Like you have those who pray to God for protection, for so many things in this world, and they are praying to God, but they are not really a devotee of God. So you have in many religions, and they accept God for their convenience. See him as his order supplier. Then yes, the Supreme Lord may give them their reactions, what they deserve, that's all. But when one is a devotee and has material desires, yes, Krishna will also reciprocate and fulfill their material desires if they deserve it, if he wants. But he will also help them to purify, to take away these material desires. And then you have one step higher again, is the pure devotee. The pure devotee has no material desires and doesn't ask anything. And then Krishna Krishna is going to take full control of the life of that devotee, and used that devotee as his instrument, like Prahlad Maharaj used him as his instrument to show all the demigods and all the others, this is a pure devotee. He used Arjuna to destroy so many of these demoniac kings. He used him as an instrument, but he will not do that. Will not do that as long as we have still these material desires in our heart, not on the same level. That yes, we have Draupadi. Draupadi, when they tried to disrobe her, she was holding at her sara, and she wanted to do things on her own strength. That so like that, people in this world, they think, yes, I ask this from God, and then when I do things on my own strength. But there's no question of surrender, they are just merchants. So that's different from a pure devotee. A pure devotee, Krishna takes full control of the life of a pure devotee by engaging him and by empowering him in whatever he wants the pure devotee to do. And that's done by giving him service. That, and we will see tomorrow, we will hear more about that. That because Lord Nrsimhadev will say, yes, that you stay in this world, but you will, by your Krishna consciousness, you will not be affected by it. You will be in it, but you will not be affected by it. But I want you to stay in this world because I want you to be the king. And as a king, you can turn everything everyone in devotees into devotees, because that's what he wants. We will see tomorrow. But and also yesterday we heard that this is desire. And then after doing your service, at the end of life, you will go back to God, he said. That so in that way, he uses them as an instrument. And when one sees Krishna as his order carrier, Krishna is never going to use his person as his instrument, gives just his reactions. But then you are between the devotee with the Sakam Bhakta, who has still material desires. Yes, there is Yeyatamam Prabhachati, according to one's surrender. But if one is sincere and has still material desires, Shilpad quoted in the purport that we had, Yasyam Anurinami, then Krishna may give his mercy by taking away the attachment of such a devotee. And then such a devotee becomes a pure devotee. So that's therefore Kama Sarvakampa, Moksha Kama Udarati, Tevena Bhakti Yoga, Charita Purushamparam. But we are full of material desires, have no material desires. Or desire liberation, it doesn't matter. You serve Krishna, Tivrena, with intense devotional service, and you will become purified of all these things. So that's Krishna reciprocation with the Sakam Bhakta, who wants to give up his material desires. It takes away these material desires. And in proportion, he will start to use the devotee in his service as an instrument. So it's not black and white. Does that help, Mother Castillo?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you so much.
Okay. Now we have Vasudev Krishna Prabhu. What can we learn from you today?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. So it's very nice prayers and very nicely you have explained it. Thank you very much. What part I really liked was the text 9 and 10, where Siddhar Swami is commenting about this Bhagavad Tvaya, where the devotee is becoming equal to the Lord in his opulence, but in the next purport 10, Prabhupada is clarifying that even though he is becoming equal in opulence, but still he doesn't loses his position as a servant, because we see in the Mayavadi conception, they generally, when they use the ladder to go up, and then once they're up, they will discard the ladder. But here we see a very important understanding that even though the devotee attains that high stage of Bhagavataya, being as good as the Supreme Person, but still he is also has his position as a servant, and that's a very important thing which I learned, Maharaj.
Yeah, yeah, that's always remaining a servant in whatever position. That is factually spiritual life. Thank you for pointing that out. Very nice. Mother Prabhupada, Priya, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yeah, I was reflecting on these verses in relation to myself, that that sometimes, you know, if I have like a serious problem in my life, that something that I'm just totally helpless to solve, to do anything about, then I'll ask Krishna, you know, to help me out with it. And, you know, sometimes I'll say something like, Krishna, you know, I've given my whole life to you, the last 30 years, I've done nothing but serve you. Can't you just help me out with this? You know, I've done so many sacrifices and so many very difficult things for you, and you know, you're God. So this is like my problem is big for me, but it's very easy for you to solve. Can't you just, you know, fix it? And then, I mean, usually, I mean, from what we're learning here, I can see that Krishna is very compassionate to me, because usually he doesn't, he doesn't do what I want him to do. And yeah, at first I get a little frustrated. Sometimes I get maybe a little angry with him. But then actually it's good, because it sort of it leads me to deeper levels of surrender, you know, because after the initial frustration, when I realized, no, it's not going to work, he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, Krishna, you know, whatever you want, if you want to drag me through hell, that's fine. Just go ahead. I'm going to keep chanting my 16 rounds. I'm going to keep serving you and taking shelter of you no matter what. I feel that, yeah, that's a good thing, even though in the beginning it doesn't look like it.
Yeah. So that's like a progress in to become a pure devotee. At a certain moment, you think, yes, why should I pray to Krishna? He knows already my heart. He knows my desires before I know them. And praying to Krishna, why should I bother Krishna? I have to serve him, not ask him all these things. But that's a higher realization, and it's a gradual process. And like you said, the process in itself is already glorious. That we may ask something to the Supreme Lord, that still that it's not wrong, that because we are not Prahlad Maharaj yet, but it will become natural later. Later, when as you make advancement, you don't want to pray anymore to the Lord for things for yourself. You just take Krishna, yes, say to Krishna, yes, you take care of me, what can I do? I'm your servant. That, Hare Krishna, thank you. Nice realizations. So Vishalaksha Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes. We are hearing you, Vishalaksha Prabhu, please.
Yeah, Maharaj, thank you for so beautiful class. And so you asked me what is a lesson and inspiration we can derive from the class. That Srila Prahlad Maharaj, being a small baby, means 5 years old, he proved that devotion service can be practiced from the childhood. It's not just for the myth of practice in the old age. No, that is one lesson. And secondly, he has explained by his example the super excellent pure devotion service. In fact, Lord Nrsingadev asked him all the benedictions. But Prahlad Maharaj did not know, tempted. Rather, if I think I would have tempted to ask something, but he had not tempted. Rather, he always remained very grateful to his spiritual master, Srila Narada Muni. And he's very, very compassionate. In fact, he said, he has shown the compassion to take all the living entities along with him back to Godhead. Similarly, in our life, there will be impediments in the devotional process, but still we should remain at the lotus feet of our Guru and Krishna in such that they will protect us. Guru and Krishna will protect. So we should remain always fixed in their service with grateful heart.
Yeah, so many good qualities we develop in devotional service. But we heard one verse saying here, Prahlad Maharaj, that these lusty desires, they destroy all these good qualities. It's a big warning. That thank you. Satyavata Prabhu, please speak.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. From text 2, I was thinking that how Prahlad Maharaj is teaching us to open our heart and express in an honest feeling, like that being a conditioned soul, naturally we are attracted towards the material enjoyment. And we know that material enjoyment is very, very destructive in our path of devotional service. So what introspection I have been doing, that I should be very honest while practicing in devotional service, and because if I don't be honest and if I'm not sincere, because I'm thinking that I'm a devotee, I get an image that I'm such a nice devotee and all. And if I am not honestly requesting, praying to Krishna and taking shelter of devotees as spiritual master, then I'll be further degraded in the spiritual life. So it's very inspiring to hear from Prahlad Maharaj that how we should understand where we are standing and how to move and how to take shelter of Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Good, thank you. That it is true. After hearing this, we must be honest and compare ourselves with Prahlad Maharaj and understand what we have still to do and understand what we are doing wrong and change. That, I see there are still 4 waiting and 1 in the chat. We will answer this or hear from them. And but please don't. We will limit it to these 5. Thank you. Lalita Pritimaya, please speak.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I feel very much connected to verse 7, where Prahlad Maharaj prays that within the core of my heart there be no material desires. I feel very much connected to this because when I was in my school days, continuously for 3 years, I prayed to Krishna that I want something in my life. So with that, I'll be very happy. But then Krishna finally gave it. And then I experienced how the life becomes hell when you ask for some material desires. So when I read Prabhupada's purports where he says that when something is not good for our spiritual progress, but we still ask with Krishna, and Krishna gives in such a way that we'll get frustrated with that. So I feel connected with the purport because I have personally experienced it, and I feel like reciting daily this 10 verses so that I may become free from the material desires and the lust inside the core of my heart.
Yes, the Bhagavatam is full of beautiful prayers, and this prayer will help us. These 10 prayers, they will help us to develop this mode of Prahlad Maharaj. That if we attain this spirit and this mood, then we go back to God. Thank you. That so Avinash Matuko.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, and thank you for all the wonderful classes you have given us. We will cherish them. As to my question, it is twofold question and also related to some of the other devotees' questions. One is that it is explained that as per your example that Krishna came to the help of Draupadi when she was being disrobed. But he did not come to help her when she was dragged and insulted and so on. He did not, the Lord did not come till she called out. So one is that a question was discussed that when is it that we should call out to the Lord, although he should be at all call out because he's in our heart anyway. And that is one. And secondly, the Lord bestowed all the material opulences to Prahlad Maharaj, and also example of Dhruv Maharaj. Dhruv Maharaj initially wanted a loka greater than Lord Brahma's. So later on, but when he came face to face, he said, "No, I don't want anything." But still, the Lord. So is it that some material desires might be lurking in their hearts from this life or previous life, and the Lord thinks that they should be fulfilled so that they are really cured of it, and in future life they become pure devotees henceforth. So is it why did the Lord give such measure? One explanation, of course, that the world needs a benevolent emperor. That is why they made him the emperor, Maharaja. But still, all the opulences are also given. So this I wanted to understand a little more.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's the first point you make is when to call out to the Lord and when that. So a pure devotee does not call out for the Lord for something of himself. That even in the face of death, if Krishna wants me to take me, he takes me. That, but we are not on the level of Prahlad. That when, like you said, Draupadi, when she understood, nothing I can do it again, Dushasan, she lifted her hands in the air and called out, Govinda. Then Krishna started to help her. That if we are in danger, yes, we pray to Lord Nrsimhadev. That when Srila Bhatt was in Mumbai fighting against this Mr. Nair, that's when Mr. Nair got a heart attack and died. Then Srila Prabhupada said, yes, I pray to Lord Nrsimhadev for this. Srila Prabhupada prayed for this, but not for himself, for the mission. That's so we can call out to the Lord to help us in our mission, to our service to Him. That we can do. If we are in extreme danger for life, then without the body we cannot serve. So we pray to the Lord, please protect me, so that I can continue my mission. But we pray to the Lord always, if you desire so. That And opulences, non-devotees, they get opulences according to their pious activities. That a devotee, Srila Prabhupada said, gets offerings for their service, So that's the pure devotee and that's the materialist. The materialist gets opulence according to one's karma, and the pure devotee, he gets opulence for his service, not for him. But we are in between, being purified, Krishna will reciprocate according to our purity. And still opulences may come because of our karma. But the devotee understands, even it's my karma, I must use it in the service of Krishna, because it's for my service. And that will purify him further. So these three situations one must consider. The materialist gets, according to one's karma, the pure devotee gets it for his service, and one who acts and tries to become a devotee is performing sadhana and service, that he gets also opulence, which may come from his karma, which may be given to him for his service. It's a mixture, we don't know. But anyway, we will use it in the service of Krishna. Hare Krishna, that's what I could say on it. So,
Thank you, Maharaj.
Tribhuvanat Prabhu, you want to comment? Please, don't speak too long because we are going over time. We have a second session, so please speak. Hare Krishna, Tribhuvanat Prabhu.
Yes, Maharaj, thank you so much. Maharaj, I feel enlightened with the concept of Ashraya and Vishaya.
Yeah.
I see that the contrary is the result of our mystery, which Prahlad actually didn't want. So I also want to quickly raise this issue so you throw some light on it. I do not tire comment from Bhagavad Gita with what Srila Prabhupada mentioned, that we should not make Krishna our other carrier.
Yeah, right.
Are they equivalent or contrary? Are they equivalent or contrary?
I didn't understand the last sentence you said.
Okay, but you understand I mentioned Arjuna Acharya, right? Right, Maharaj?
It's difficult to hear and understand you. Say it again.
Okay. I said Srila Prabhupada mentioned that we should not make Krishna our other carrier. So Arjuna Acharya has a problem with us, right? So
Arjuna Acharya, who is that?
Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're familiar with that famous aspect of Gita. Yeah, he underlines some slokas that Krishna cannot be on the carrier. And it happens that Krishna actually provides what's he wants.
That Krishna Lababai, I really, it's very difficult to hear you.
So Maharaj, he's talking about that verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Yogakshamam Bahamyam, that I personally carry.
Oh, 922, yes.
Yes. So there's a pastime with Arjuna Acharya. He said, oh, he doesn't personally carry. He cut off the words aham. And then he went out for begging, but then two little boys brought lot of food stuff to his wife and said that, oh, your husband sent all of this and he's very cruel and he's beating us.
So Maharaj, the question is clear.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, no.
Oh, really?
No.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So, Mother Divya Lila, please speak.
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Following Lalita Preetimayi Mataji, I also able to relate to this verse number 7, where Prahlad Maharaj prays that to remove the desire material desire from the core of his heart. So as practicing devotees, there are two kinds of desire. Like one is the gross, what we enjoy as a gross material enjoyment. The other one is like the subtle, especially I'm talking for myself. And when I say subtle, it is like even in the, while we are practicing Krishna consciousness, sometimes the desire for name, fame and achieving. So even that also have to be removed by from the core of our heart, so that we can, our aim is only pure devotional service and serving the Lord, that I understood from these prayers of Prahlad Maharaj.
Yes, thank you. It's not easy to become without any material desires in the core of our heart. That we see sometimes someone is criticizing us and we feel unhappy. That's the cause is false ego, means material desires. It's not easy to give them up. But we have here a glorious process. Also, personally, what struck me is text 8. Because of lust desires from the very beginning of one's birth, the functions of one's senses, mind, life, body, religions, patience, intelligence, shyness, opulence, strength, memory, and truthfulness are vanquished. So if you act out of lusty desire, you lose your intelligence, you lose your patience, that also your opulence, that your capabilities, your strength. You cannot be truthful anymore. It's heavy. That so we should avoid acting out of lusty desires for eye and mind. That, so this is our last comment from Mother Radhikarati. She writes, I stopped praying anything for myself. But then I realized praying is one of the means to connect to the Lord. So I can pray to Him to help me in my services. To pray to help me in my services also, I'm scared because I feel because there are so many impurities in me that without my awareness, I may be desiring some gain to my service. Yeah, that's also wanting some recognition, to get some praise from others. That's a nice sharing of realization, and I think we should all pray like that to the Lord, to, like Prahlad, take away this desires, shows, and subtle within our hearts. So, thank you very much. We will end here, and we will come together again at 4 p.m. 4 p.m. right? And it's so we have. I forgot who will give the presentation. That anyway.
Maharaj, Divya
Yes.
Leela Devi Dasi.
Okay.
I will be giving the presentation.
Very good. I'm looking forward at 4 p.m. to hear from Mother Divya Leela. Thank you. Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare